Let's talk about the scandal that Trump should have just let percolate over the weekend rather than changing the topic by so many in the media. Because, of course, given the chance, they'd love to change the topic. But it was pretty extraordinary to see even the left wing covering the Biden story and his meltdown last week, with some fervor, to the point where people were saying, oh, like the New York Times is some conservative rag now because it was pointing out he's got some serious mental acuity problems, according to special counsel, in ways that seem to entertain the idea as opposed to just dismiss it as the musings of a partisan hack, which is what they're suggesting special counsel Hur is now. It's H-U-R. I'll give you just a flavor of how they're spinning it. Probably Kamala Harris was their number one ambassador in a fiery retort. She came out on Friday and tried to just really attack the special counsel in ways even the president was not claiming, in an effort to defend himself from that report, which said he did mishandle classified documents, but he wasn't going to bring charges against him because he did not believe that a jury would convict because they'd be looking at a, quote, well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory and probably couldn't bring themselves to actually say the guy violated the law. Here she was on Friday, Hot 21.
The comments that were made by that prosecutor, gratuitous, inaccurate, and inappropriate. The way that the president's demeanor in that report was characterized could not be more wrong on the facts and clearly politically motivated. That when it comes to the role and responsibility of a prosecutor in a situation like that, we should expect that there would be a higher level of integrity than what we saw.
Okay, so just a couple things. Not even Joe Biden's claiming that everything in that report or that his characterizations of Joe Biden's memory problems were inaccurate. He did not take issue with the devastating conclusion by special counsel Hur that Joe Biden could not remember when he was vice president. He did not take issue with that. He did suggest he knew when Beau Biden died, but didn't actually state the date even when he was defending himself. And in general, has refused to show any proof that this was inaccurate in any way because they could release the transcript. Right now, the White House is saying, well, we'll look at it. Maybe we will, maybe we won't, because there's a lot of classified information in there. Yeah, we know, because it's based on his documents he inappropriately kept. But anyway, the question about when your son died or his offerings on not being able to figure it out or when he was vice president, that could be released. So far, they haven't done it. And not even Biden has denied it. She's the only one claiming it's inaccurate. So it's an obvious lie. And the smear of her as politically motivated, based on what? Based on what? Tell us more. Just the fact that he's a Republican? I don't see it.
Yeah, I think almost everything they said, if you think about it, has been disingenuous. And she gave no examples. She said it was gratuitous and inappropriate. And she didn't give one example. And the biggest problem they have is they can't decide whether he's non compos mentis and cognitively challenged and therefore he shouldn't have been indicted, or he's perfectly cognitively capable and therefore he should be indicted. And so they go back and waver. They praise him sometimes because he didn't indict him, and then they criticize him because they said he didn't indict him. But there's some things they can't get away from. He didn't even say that he thought that Joe Biden was non compos mentis. He said that people, in his opinion, would think that. In other words, it was a widespread belief. And today, in the latest poll, 85% thought he was too old. 76% said he's not suited. So that wasn't anybody's speculation. That was what the general people feel. But what I got really angry was Kamala Harris and the rest of them, especially Dan Goldman, lying, just blatantly lying, as did Joe Biden. The first thing they said is, contrary to Trump, Joe Biden cooperated. He did. He notified people as soon as that's a complete lie. He took it out at least 14 years ago, the last year of his senatorial career in 2009, I think January 15th, when he resigned. So he at least had these documents that were classified for 14 years. It might have been gone back a decade earlier. Then he took them out as vice president, and he didn't tell a soul. He knew in 2017 that he had done that when Trump was president, because he said to a ghostwriter, "Oh, I've got classified documents here." That's on tape. But again, they erased that tape, Megyn. The only reason they found that out was they had forensics that was able to cover it. So here you have a guy in 2017 who admits it and doesn't notify any federal authority, and he sits on it for 5 years. So then why do we know about the fact that he had classified files? We only know about it because on November 2nd of 2020, his attorneys announced, oh my God, he's had them for years. He had them since 2017 when he told the ghostwriter he did. However, the reason that they announced that wasn't just less than 2 weeks. They were 2 weeks, a little bit more than 2 weeks. They announced the appointment of Jack Smith. So they thought, oh my God, we're going to appoint a special counsel to look into Trump. Does Joe have any exposure? Oh, yes, he does. So we better preempt and get it out there before the special prosecutor is formally announced. The other thing is he lied in the press conference and said there was no top secret classification in his Afghan papers. There was, and he knew that. The other thing that I think a lot of us got really angry about was Jill and Joe Biden. How dare he say that about not remembering the date of Beau Biden's death. And that was inappropriate, we were told, to bring in that. You know what was inappropriate? For the last 3 to 4 years, as recently as last fall, Joe Biden has deliberately lied about the circumstances of his own son's death. It's a tragic death. He died of a glioblastoma in Walter Reed Hospital, but he's gone in front of grieving families and said, we lost Beau in Iraq. That is completely untrue. And he has a habit of that, Megyn. He did that for 10 years when his wife died in 1972. It was another tragic accident. His daughter died, but he blamed the truck driver who was absolutely innocent and, if anything, not culpable in trying to avoid that accident. And he said that he drank his lunch. I lost my wife to a drunk driver. And the family pleaded with Joe Biden for a decade to stop that. And the poor man died before Biden apologized or stopped it. So what I'm getting at is Joe Biden has used deaths in his family for patently political purposes. The special counsel was not trying to do that. He was just giving you examples of the egregious loss of memory or cognitive ability. Right. And yet they turned it into, how dare you? This is beyond the pale, when they have done it repeatedly. And I wouldn't have brought it up. I don't think anybody should, except they do it all the time. They try to distort the actual circumstances of their son's death. Anybody who's lost a child knows that you don't do that. You don't try to change the conditions of how you lost a child to gain empathy or to take empathy away from somebody who's grieving from the actual circumstance. And I thought that I got really upset about that. They've been so untruthful in their replies to all of these facts. And I thought Goldman was terrible when he said, oh, he notified people as soon as he knew. He never had notified anybody until the appointment of the special counsel was going to take place within 2 weeks. So
it's very true. So first of all, he, according to this report, he was sitting there reading the classified documents and material therein to his ghostwriter out loud. So he very well knew, at least at that point, that he had classified documents in his possession and he was sharing the contents with somebody. I mean, look at the infamous meeting of Trump allegedly waving around the classified document like, I've got it here, the attack plans, look at this. This was given to me by what's his name, and he wants us to attack Iran. I could show it to you, but it's classified. He's been indicted for that, among other things. This is an allegation that Joe Biden read the classified documents to the ghostwriter, who then deletes the tape. So, I mean, at least as of then, he had it and he knew. And unlike Trump, he had never been president. He had never had access to this stuff in a way that would have allowed him to take it with him back to his home in Delaware. Even arguably, senators have to review classified documents in these so-called SCIFs, these secure information rooms, and then they leave. The information doesn't leave. The documents never leave. And so he had some of the stuff from his senatorial time. And
that's a really good point, because they've tried to say, well, these things are very different. They are different, but not in the way the Biden people are saying they're different. They're different because, as you said, the president has the prerogative in theory, anytime he wants to declassify them. Maybe Trump didn't do it formally, but he had that option. He wouldn't be in this trouble if he just signed a paper saying these are declassified. The second thing is, anybody who's driven by Mar-a-Lago knows it's a lot more secure location than Joe Biden's garage. When you see that picture of those cartons, and the idea, well, he had it in a secure, it's not true. Trump had it for less than 2 years. Joe Biden has had classified documents in his possession since he left the Senate. And that, again, that's 14 years plus. So how they took that asymmetry and said, well, Donald Trump is the object of an investigation by Jack Smith. It's so egregious we had to indict him, but Mr. Hur could not indict Joe Biden because his circumstances were completely different. Although he didn't quite say that, did he? He did say that from time to time, but he said the chief reason is a jury would not indict him. But another thing is, that is an attitude of a local prosecutor, and you know that, Megyn, who has limited resources. They have to pick and choose which case they think they can win in a jury. It's not the prerogative of a special counsel with the full weight and funding of the federal government, who knows that he can try and he'll have all the resources in the world, and yet he makes the decision, in his opinion, that he might not win it. The point is, he's supposed to try to win it and persuade a jury that Joe Biden was capable of what he was doing. And so I thought that was a little strange that Hur said that. It was a James Comey, return, that Hillary is really guilty of taking out classified emails or communicating over an unsecure server or destroying subpoena devices. But I don't think anybody wants to indict a presidential candidate, in my opinion.
That's the other thing. I mean, Andy McCarthy was pointing out on his podcast, which I listen to every Friday, that number one, they used the wrong standard. They said, you got to prove that he did it willfully and we're not there. And really the standard is, was it grossly negligent, which is a much easier burden for any prosecutor to meet. And number two, as to the criticism by Kamala Harris that it was gratuitous, that he released, it was obviously political, she said. And she said, yeah, exactly. It could not be, that it was politically motivated. I'm just trying to get her exact words. Andy's point was that there is a DOJ regulation that required the special counsel to explain in full to the attorney general exactly his assessment of how this would play in front of a jury. Her, H-U-R, had the obligation under DOJ guidelines, see Rule 600.8, subset C, to explain his rationale for charging decisions in a confidential report. The Megyn Kelly Show is supported by Grand Canyon University. Founded in 1949, GCU is a private Christian university that's dedicated to delivering an affordable and transformative higher education. Their vibrant campus is located in beautiful Phoenix, Arizona. And according to niche.com, it's ranked a top 25 best campus in the country. As of June 2023, GCU offers 330 academic programs with over 270 of those online, allowing you the freedom to earn your degree on your time from wherever you are. At GCU, your degree, whether it's a bachelor's, master's, or doctorate, integrates the free market system and a welcoming Christian worldview. Learn more about GCU's programs, competitive tuition rates, and scholarship offers from your university counselor. They are part of the supportive graduation team who take a personalized approach to helping you achieve your academic goals, walking alongside you every step of the way. Find your purpose at Grand Canyon University. Private, Christian, affordable. For more info or to enroll, visit gcu.edu. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.